Welcome to this video, which is an explainer all about the assignments for this ILM Level 7 coaching qualification. Thank you so much for signing up for it, and I really hope that you're getting ready to get stuck into it all. We know that the qualification and the assignment aspect of this whole program is a bit fiddly, so I wanted to make a video explaining everything that you need to know, giving you a good chance to hear all of the information in a leisurely way. This video will probably take between 25 and 30 minutes, so please settle down, have a cup of tea, and just get ready to absorb everything that you need to know. This video explains all the background, all the information that you'll need to know about how to approach this work. I will talk a bit about each of the three assignments, but I will also make separate videos for each of the three assignments so that you have extra detail there, question by question, because I think that would be useful for you. As an overview, no doubt you've read things about the assignments on the booking form, on the flyer, or in earlier conversations with one of us. So hopefully you'll know some of this stuff. Start off with the fact that there are three assignments. The first assignment being the essay. It's called an essay, but actually, because it's one heading with a whole number of subheadings, it's more like a series of articles. I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. The assignment 2 is your coaching practice, is the 20 hours of one-to-one coaching you'll do and the paperwork that you'll be doing to support that coaching practice. And assignment 3 you complete after you've done your 20 hours of coaching practice, and that's a bit of a retrospective, having a look at where you were on day 1 of the program to where you are when you finished your 20 hours and have been assessed at coaching at level 7. So they're the three assignments. We recommend and we put a timetable together that says that they get finished within 6 months of finishing the training. So if you're on training that ends, let's say at the end of June, then we would be looking to get you finished and completed and qualified by the end of that year. The timetable will have interim deadlines for each of assignments 1, 2, or 3. So it's not like you have to throw an all-nighter the night before 6 months is up to get everything completed. The idea is that you'll do it in stages. You'll do it in stages. It's a tight timetable, and we do have flexibility. We can offer extensions, but most people tell us that they want to get it done. They want to get it done in a reasonable timescale and earn this qualification. So that's an overview. I hope that's useful as a starting point. Let's look at the timetable and the deadlines. So I've said 6 months. The idea is you do it in stages. So you get assignment 1 completed 6 weeks after we finished the final training day, with a bit of flexibility around school holidays and the like. The idea for that is we only want you to put in as much time as the amount of free time that you might have per week, 2 hours, 3 hours, say, times 6 as a maximum. We don't want this to be one of those labours of love that you put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in. We want you to do it in a reasonably tight time scale, because that's what's needed. Assignment 2, the coaching practice, you do need a bit more time. You need more time because you need to have your 20 hours of coaching and need to have a few weeks between each coaching session. So gaps are really important. And then assignment 3, you finish your 20 hours, you've done assignment 2, and then a couple more months to just bring everything together, any final amends you might have to do from the early assignments, and then the final assignment 3. And that's 6 months after the final training day. So that's roughly the timetable that we'll be looking to work to, and we'll have specific times for you and your cohort. What about when you start? So we really encourage you to start your reading for assignment 1 whilst you're going through the training days. You'll find that you'll be reading anyway, because you'll be reading about coaching and you'll be reading some of the books on the reading list. And almost inevitably, what's going to happen is that you will read aspects of information that will be useful for the assignments, about coaching in the organization or coaching skills or structures and so on. So if you know what the questions are, if you've looked at the questions for assignment 1, you can make your reading a bit more guided, a bit more focused, and I'm sure you'll find that useful and a time saver. So that's when to start your reading. For your assignment 2, we really want you to start all the reflective paperwork as soon as you start your coaching. Lots of people, myself included, I'm sure, do this thing of we do a bit of learning, a bit of practice, and then we only write up our notes weeks or months later. that won't be very helpful. It's not a time saver. It's a time saver to write your notes up about your coaching sessions on the day or in the couple of days after each session. I think you'll find it really, really useful. Loads of coaches have said to us, please tell people to start this paperwork at this time. And so I'm really reiterating that. So start the assignment 2 paperwork as soon as you start your coaches. So that's timetables. Let's now look in brief at each of the 3 assignments. So here comes assignment 1. Assignment 1, it is an essay because it has a headline title that you'll read there about skills, principles, and practice of coaching at this senior level. The 3 headings, which I'll go through in a moment. There is a word count. They give you a word count of 5,000 words, but it's very flexible. It's possible to do it within the 5,000 words, but many people go to 6,000 or 7,000, and some people go to plenty more. We don't want you to spend time trying to edit it down. You really don't need to do that. You know, you can keep it nice and flowing and write as much as you need to write. The 3 headings are these. Section 1, understanding what coaching and mentoring is at this senior level. So it explores that in quite a lot of depth, and it also looks at it organisationally as well, to ask you to consider that. There's a few 4 questions in there. Section 2 is all about the nuts and bolts of your practice. So it's your coaching skills, how to structure coaching sessions, what a coaching model you'll use, your reflective practice in terms of supervision and contracting. That's section 2. And the 3rd section is thinking about evaluating coaching. So how you can measure, is the coaching working? How can you measure it for an organisation? How can you measure it for an individual coachee? Each of those sections has 2 or 3 or 4 subsections, so you will have specific individual questions that you can answer, which I think makes it a lot easier than trying to respond to one overarching question and try and work out all of your subheadings. It also means you can write it a bit in bite-sized form. That's important. So that's assignment 1, and as I've said, there will be another video in the assignment 1 folder that goes through each of those questions in a bit more detail. Let's look at assignment 2. Assignment 2, the nuts and bolts of your coaching practice. 20 hours. Probably 20 sessions, but it might be a few more. We're not looking to count by the second, by the minute, but roughly 21-hour sessions, more or less. And you'll work with 3 main coachees, 3 people who you'll take through a coaching program from the first session all the way through to the last. And then colleagues, friends, family members, course buddy to do 4 or 5 one-offs to make up those 20 hours. When you start with your first coachee about 2/3 of the way through the training after module 2. We do work in module 2 that you'll really need for that first bit of contact with your first substantive coachee. But before that, after module 1, we do want you to get going with your coaching. So we do encourage you to do a couple of sessions with course buddies or friends or colleagues, just so you have some one-offs, you get a bit of a feel for it. That's important. Paperwork. This assignment is supported by paperwork, and the paperwork wants to work for you and wants to be useful. So we've templated some things that you can do to reflect on your practice. First one is a client diary. So for each of your 3 main coachees, you will have one Word document, coaching client diary, and you will document everything you do with this client, with this coachee, from offering the coaching to them through to sending the paperwork and session by session bit of analysis. So you've got all in one place your understanding about how that's worked with that one coachee. We do ask you to do self-reflection forms on any coaching sessions that you listen to, and you can do 3 or 4 at a minimum. Some people do quite a few more. There's probably too many, because there's probably a moment if you do 20, it probably feels all a bit too turgid. But doing 4 or 6 or 8 can be really useful, can help you really reflect and have a good understanding of your coaching sessions. Again, we provide the forms. We also provide a log so that you can in one place track all of your 20 hours with some headlines, what went well and even better if. So you can see in one place how your coaching is evolving and growing and developing. We do invite you as part of this program to have at least 4 one-to-one supervision or tutor conversations with one of the team, with me or one of the team, to talk about your coaching practice, to talk about your coaching sessions, your assignments. There's a log there to make some notes about what you learn, what you reflect on, what you remember from those tutorials. And you can use it as well for tutorials and supervision with your buddies as well. So it's a good place to just record that information. That's your paperwork. That's the paperwork for assignment 2. As part of assignment 2, it's really important to us, and I'm sure really important to you, to know that you're coaching at the right standard. So as well as giving feedback, we do assess your coaching formally. And how we do that is after we've been reviewing and giving you feedback on a few coaching sessions. When you've hit your 20 hours, you'll send us a coaching recording and you'll say, I think this one is at the right sort of level. Could you assess it? So that's what we'll do. We'll listen to it using assessment criteria that we would have shared with you, so you know what it looks like, and we'll let you know if it's a pass. You can come and do it live if you want. You can come with your course buddy. That's absolutely fine, and then we can watch each of you coach each other and do it in that live way. Or you could quite simply send a recording actually with your course buddy. But there is always the live possibility if you want to just get it done and out of the way. Really important to notice is it's not a pass or fail, a one-time only. It's an opportunity to just take a snapshot, a moment in time to see how your coaching is. Probably about 80% of people pass, and the 20% who don't pass that first time, it's because of one thing or a couple of things, something that they need to work on. Maybe there was a bit of an Achilles heel. Maybe they found the opening stage challenging, or they drifted a bit too much towards advice, something of that nature. So we give feedback and then you just resubmit until we get you to that pass level. Generally, people need to send in a couple more recordings to get to that pass level if they haven't passed at that assessment stage. Might feel a bit onerous, a bit scary, but it's a good process and it's a good way to be able to take this practice forward, I think, and to be able to have a good understanding about the level you would have reached with your coaching. So that's all of assignment 2. Then we get to assignment 3 and you're a bit more on the home straight now. You've done your coaching hours, you've written your big assignment, and you've also been assessed for your coaching. So now you can come along and reflect on your coaching from day 1 to today. There's only one document there and it is templated, but there's quite a lot of space for you to free write as well. We really want you to personalize this and be really reflective and really notice what's going on with your coaching and how it's grown, how it's evolved. So that makes this quite a valuable personalized type of bit of work. No hurry to do this. Don't start noting into it because it does want to be your views at a moment in time, that moment being when you finished your hours. And there's no word count and there's no referencing needed because this is reflective. Sometimes people do make reference to books that they've read, things that have influenced them, but that's optional. There's really no need to. So that's all the assignments. And as I've said, there will be videos on each of those walking you through all of the paperwork. You'll see those in your resource folder. Let me turn now to a few questions. These are questions that come up time and again, so I thought they'd be helpful to address them. Firstly, how and who are my coaches? Now, level 7 is quite advanced coaching, and it is coaching that helps people work on sustainable change often. So what's important about your coaches is that they're in a good place. You know, they're quite well. They're not going through a life crisis. They're not stressed. They've probably got the busyness of work because everyone's got the busyness of work, right? So that's the first thing, that they need to be in a good place. If you are a leader and the temptation is to just choose from your people who you lead, your direct reports, I'd really encourage you to only pick one person from that cohort, because although it's joyous coaching people who work with and for you, it's also quite challenging. You'll know loads about them. It's really hard not to think about the backstory, or maybe the responsibility you have for them, or maybe something to do with the organization may get distracted. So it's fine to have one, but not loads. It's good to have people within your own sector because you will understand the issues and you won't need explanations about how things work. But it also means that there's a challenge there. There's a challenge of knowing a bit too much and being tempted to advise. So it's still probably the most comfortable place to start with is within your own sector. Occasionally people go outside it. Occasionally we see head teachers go down the road and coach someone in a charity or someone in a hospital, and occasionally people in the NHS come along and work with people in education. That can happen, and it can happen well. What's important is that you feel comfortable in the environment, and you do not have to worry about your performance and worry about being judged. And for that, it's probably someone who knows you quite well. For some people, it's strangers. It's, knowing the anonymity of it is useful. So we do share a paper document with a bit more guidance than this, but it's really worth thinking about who your coachees are. There is this language for the ILM Level 7 that they have to be executives. Well, one of your coaches has to work at a senior level or has to have worked at a senior level. Why? Because you need to be able to see what it's like coaching people who face all the challenges of seniority. Doesn't mean they're harder to coach, doesn't mean they're better to coach, but it means that they are a particular audience of people to coach. And what is an executive level? Really, it's anyone who has responsibility for staff, responsibility for a budget. It doesn't have to be super duper senior. That's not really important. You can coach all of your people at that level, but you only have to coach one, and it's really up to you. I think a heady mix is good. I think it's just as challenging coaching a senior person in an organization as someone who is on maternity leave, or someone who's between jobs, or a university student. I think everyone brings their own challenges, so please don't over worry about this. And the next question is, this is a qualification in coaching and mentoring, but actually the focus here is coaching. You're learning to be a coach. The services you will be offered primarily will be coaching. So we do teach a bit about mentoring, and you will be able to develop your mentoring style, but you're not out there looking for mentoring sessions or mentees as part of this program. And in the assignments, you only have to write about mentoring in question 1 of assignment 1, when it asks you to define and differentiate coaching and mentoring. After that, just stick to coaching in terms of the assignments. You'll probably find you do mentoring anyway as part of your day job, so keeping notes about how your mentoring is evolving is really useful. But apart from that first question in assignment 1, you don't have to worry about mentoring for the qualification. So I mentioned that you're going to start the coaching with buddies after the first module of the training, and with your substantive coachees 2/3 of the way into the training after webinar 8. But it's good to set it up. So we encourage you to get your coachees lined up and ready and organized in advance. So by the time you start the training, if you've got people at least earmarked and you've had that initial conversation, we would have shared some paperwork with it, like an email template that you can send them. So having it lined up in advance, it's important. People's diaries are a bit tough at the moment, aren't they? People often find it challenging to find time. So as much notice as you can give them, the better. How long does each coaching session have to be? Well, we see the optimum time is between about 30 and 55 minutes, something like that. When you're practicing, when you're starting off, it will probably be 20 to 30 minutes, and that's fine. Anything shorter than 20, I think it's hard to make any substantive change, get much done. Gradually you can creep up from between 30 to 40 to 50 minutes. I think that around 45 minutes seems to be like a really ideal amount of time, with a good amount of exploration, but not too much brain fog for you or the coachee of holding in all that information. Note it down, note how long the sessions last. The important thing is, I think, not too short so you don't feel like you're rushing them through to a solution, and not too long so it feels like it's not dragging for you, for them. So that's a bit about the coachees, a bit about the assignments. Your writing style for these assignments, even though it is a level 7, which technically is at postgraduate level, it doesn't have to be written in an academic way. You're not writing a paper for submission to a publication. If your writing style is relatively formal, that's fine. But if it's relatively conversational, that's also fine. We don't have to use flowery language. It wants to feel like an everyday piece of work. I like the idea that people will take a section of their assignment and perhaps cut it out and then make it a Word document and then send it to a colleague for reading, or use it as part of planning or strategy for coaching in their organization. So it wants to be very accessible. It wants to be very readable. I think that's really important. There's no marks for style. There's no marks for grammar. There's nothing like that of that nature. But the focus of all three of the assignments really wants to be practical. You really want to be reflective and practical and thinking about the application of coaching. The theoretical background is useful and interesting and worth explaining, but it's a practical element I think that's really important. And with that in mind, everything you write in these assignments are for you to be learning and growing and developing. So for example, when you put together your diaries and your logs for assignment 2, it's not about demonstrating to us or demonstrating to the ILM that you're coaching at this level. It's your genuine, honest and open reflections on what you're doing well and what you want to carry on working on. And think of it as almost private documents. I know, I appreciate you're going to share them with us, but think of it as private documents. And then you can do that type of critical analysis in a really useful, helpful way. And with that in mind, I do want to mention that you will see in the resource folder that we'll share with you, you will see some example assignments. And we've put in some that are good, we've put in some that are outstanding, and we have put in some that are beyond outstanding. They're so good. People have, thrown themselves fully into it. We put them there as an extra resource to help you. Please, if you find that it's helpful reading other people's assignments, have a look and read and be inspired by them. If you find it will put you off and make you feel like you must write in the same way or the same amount, then just ignore them. They're there as a reference if you want it. Feel free to see or to ignore. Okay, I hope you're being patient. I'm sorry that this is quite long, but I think getting it out here might save you hours of worry looking through documents trying to find the information. A couple more slides to go. A bit about the ILM. The ILM as a large body has a registration process. So we do register you and you get a candidate number, and we tend to do that mid-course so that you can access their library and all their materials whilst you're doing your study and for a period of time afterwards. You get 12 months membership of the ILM. You have that during your study period, and then it lapses. And if you want, and if you like the ILM's processes and all the stuff they do, you can renew it. You don't have to renew it in order to keep this qualification. You can absolutely let it lapse. Some people renew, maybe about 10% of people renew it. But you absolutely don't have to. This is a qualification you would have earned and you keep it for life. We are an ILM centre, which means that they inspect us and they make sure we have everything in order. They inspect us every year and they inspect every assignment and they inspect all of our marking and so on. We have in the background policies, we have procedures and protocols that we can make available. We could obviously share them with you, but we find that these are things that most people don't want to read. But if you want to look at any of the policies, please feel free to ask and we can certainly share those with you. Anything from our marking to our equality policy to our diversity policy and so on and so on. So we've obviously got those available. Something that comes up periodically tends to be, I think, with people who have done prior study, is that people ask, is this a pass merit distinction type of qualification? Is this, do I get a first or a second or a third? Well, it's not. It's not one of those. It's a qualification that you earn and you get the certification. So you pass it. So you could work really hard. You could go part-time in your job and you could spend 3 days a week on this for a year and produce the most incredible work. And someone else in the group can do just enough to get them over the line, but it does get them over the line. You'll get the same path. You'll get the same path. I'm not saying this to put you off from doing hard work, but what I don't want people to do is to put in extra, double, triple the amount of work in the hope of getting a distinction, which actually just doesn't exist. So the point is you do as much as you would like to, as much as is enriching you when you do that study. I probably get asked this by about 1 in 3 people who ring up to book a place on a course. How many people failed? Can you fail? How do we fail? Well, there's only 2 ways you can fail. The first and the most obvious is just not complete. Either not turn up for all the webinars. If you need to miss 1 or 2, it's fine, but maybe missing half the webinars, not doing some of the assignments, not engaging in the coaching practice. So if you don't do the stuff, of course, you can't pass. That occasionally happens. It tends to happen with people who hit some sort of work or personal crisis. And we provide as much support as we can, sometimes deferring extensions on deadlines, moving to another cohort. These things are possible, but occasionally people just hit a moment when they just need to withdraw, and that happens in all walks of study, of course. And we do our very best to keep that down to a real minimum. The other way is plagiarizing. If you plagiarize an essay and submit it and the ILM sees it is plagiarized, it's a direct copy from someone else's work, then they would fail you. This has never happened. We have had 1 submission of an assignment that was obviously written by our friends over at ChatGPT, and robust feedback was given rather than a fail. ChatGPT can only be used for your background reading and your notes. It can't be used for assignment writing, of course. So they're the only 2 ways that you can fail. We do our very best to mitigate that, of course. Finally, you will get a certificate. In fact, you'll get certificates in 2 forms, really. You get a paper certificate, which will come in the post some weeks after we have finished and we have passed you. And you will also get a digital badge, which is lovely, I think, because you can put it on your LinkedIn profile, you can put it on your email footer, and it means that you can tell anyone, or people will see at a glance, that you've earned this really important qualification. Finally, if you wanted to shove a couple of extra letters after your name, I'm afraid that this qualification doesn't give it to you. Membership of the ILM, by contrast, does. You can say you're a fellow of, or you're a member of, or an associate of. But unlike a degree or a master's, this qualification doesn't attract any post-nominal letters. I hope that's not too big a disappointment, but I thought it's important for you to know. Finally, the support that we give you. I really hope that by now you'll get the impression that we do give you lots of support, and we are all about wanting people to do really well and to pass, and for this not to be stressful. We know you're committing really hard to doing this advanced qualification, and we don't want it to be stressful, so we give you loads of support, of course, lots of informal support. But some specific things we do: we provide a resource folder. Used to be Dropbox, it's OneDrive. It may emerge to Google, who knows, at some point, but it's an online folder that you will have all the resources you need. Everything to support the assignment, to support your coaching practice. So you won't have to look elsewhere. You won't have to make up any documentation in order to get through this qualification. We do give answer books, paper and digital, and I've already talked a bit about sample assignments for you to review. Basically, every document you see that says the word assignment on it, if you fill in every box in every document, you would have completed all of the assignment work. We've got video explainers both for the assignments, but also for coaching skills. So our YouTube channel, putting lots of videos up that complement the training we'll do. So talking about coaching skills and ways to have coaching sessions and structures and so on. And that's a growing bank of resources that you can carry on using. The training is relatively intense, so you might find a revisit of some of these topics to be quite useful. So they'll be there. Tutorials, you need to have 4 as part of the program, but we have no limit on that. You can come back week after week, month after month. I've some people just booking for regular slots 6 or 8 times. It's absolutely fine. We'll carry on having tutor time after you're qualified as well. We're more than happy, and you can meet with, it's normally me running these level 7s with one other person in the team, but we also have other people in our team whose diaries are available, so you can book in and chat with any of us about your coaching practice, and we're always happy to see you. Because of the way the ILM works, we do not have to submit your assignments directly to them. The marking and the quality assuring of the marking is all done internally by us. So it means you can send a draft in You can send a draft in of an assignment you might have not sure how to go about it, or want to just answer a couple of the questions and send it through, and we can have a little look and a review of it and give you feedback. And you can have a back and forth. You can do it in dribs and drabs. You might have to do revisions a couple of times. So we give you that support. Sue is our quality manager, and she is all over the assignments and give you as much support as you need to get these assignments passed and finished. Feedback on your coaching, I've mentioned that already. It's a really, really strong part of this work. I mean, we really want you to listen to your coaching sessions and make your notes. And then we will do the same. We'll give feedback, we'll give written feedback, we'll have chat tutorials as well, and there is no maximum. Everyone needs to send in 4. Probably the average that people send in is 6 or 7. Some people send in even up to double figures. It's absolutely fine. We want you to be comfortable that you keep on sending coaching sessions in until you're at that place where you've got to that level 7 level. That's really important. And I've talked a little bit here about the final assessment, and that is a really nice culmination. That's a moment when you can say, my coaching is at this level 7 standard. So we'll give you a bit of criteria for that, so we know what you're aiming for, and you're always working towards that. That's really important. But imagine what that feels like to know that you've reached that level 7 standard. So I hope this has been more useful than challenging, and I hope you are able to see that this is all within your gift. You clearly will need to have to find some time and some energy to do all this. We are here to support, we are here to help. Do have a look around at all the resources we provide, and do spend time with us. This video is not a replacement for sharing time and giving you time to be able to support and help you. But I'd like to finish off just by encouraging you to just look in your mind's eye 6 or 9 or 12 months into the future, when you are completed, when you have got your level 7 certification, and when you receive through the post or by email this, when you know that you have passed. This is a wonderful group. They passed mid-pandemic, and a delighted, wonderful bunch. And we have seen since 2015 hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people get to this stage, and I'm sure if you're watching this, you will be amongst that group. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the assignment work, and have a good day, and happy coaching.